Yeah. Yo. So we just wanted to talk to y'all about that new John Wick 3, Parabellum. So you got to prepare for war. So if you want peace, Parabellum. Get ready for war. So that's what the whole concept of the movie was. John Wick, Keanu Reeves does a spectacular job. How old is he, Adrian?
He's like 35.
I think he was born in like 64. So I'm guessing like 50.
He was moving like a 35-year-old. Yeah. I'm telling you.
So
the guy got some skills.
In the beginning, I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but we want to say that the movie was non-stop action, like from the beginning to end. A lot of action, not too much on the storyline. What I think the movie is trying to do is that they're actually trying to say, okay, you guys know what John Wick is all about. You know part 1, you know part 2. Part 3, we're picking off from where we left off on part 2, and we're saying, listen, we're going to take this story and continue it right where we left off. So, in essence, you're already supposed to know about the story of John Wick, so we don't got to spend a lot of time with dialogue explaining to you who John Wick is in this movie. So it takes you straight to the action from the get-go.
Sure.
Any feedback on that? Any feedback?
Just that first opening fight scene, it had a lot of nuances of the Bruce Lee movie with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they just did that whole fight scene. Instead of it, they just kicked off like it. It was just a smooth, sweet thing, and then they did the same thing towards the end as well. I mean, just they picked apart like a bunch of different moves and they put them together. That's what I liked about it. Just the action, the raw martial arts they were doing in it. They were doing a lot of intricate, raw versions of the martial arts. They're doing sambo, they're doing gung fu, they're doing some ninjutsu, they were doing some capoeira on there. You know, just a lot of martial arts that they just put in and just jam-packed it full of action.
I know you got impressed when he Mark Dacascos features in the film.
Oh yeah.
And he did a nice upside down capoeira kick, and it's unlike what you see Anthony Pettis do when he goes off one hand and they do the roundhouse. That's what a lot of people are trying to implement right now in MMA. He did it differently. He did a handstand. He kicked up with both legs simultaneously, kind of like a drop kick, almost going upside down, which I found impressive. Kind of paying homage to Chinese Connection, where Bruce Lee fought Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Al Cinder. In the first scene, which you were talking about, he actually got kicked to the chest, which I thought paid homage to that film as well. But what they did was they twisted it in another scene where he actually goes into the Continental, and they have a room that's dedicated to having samurai armors, and it has a bunch of glass, and it wasn't mirrors, but it was just glass. So it's so clear you almost can't tell whether or not you're going to walk through it or into it. So that was a pretty cool twist on the Enter the Dragon style, where they had the room full of the mirrors, where he was fighting against Hans, when Han had the blades and was slashing Bruce Lee to the abs. What about that last fighting scene just now with Mark Dacascos?
So Dacascos, you know how fast he is. You know, he's always been a fast, speedy fighter in the films, you know? He's always been that guy who does 1,000 kicks in less than a minute. You know, just exaggerating there, but when he first started off, he was actually dogging, and he was trying to show him that he was a better fighter. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is you can't get too cocky. You know, when you're starting to fight, you know, if you're gonna finish him. Don't play with him. That's the thing with war. With war, you don't play, you just kill. And that's the thing that John Wick had and Dacascos didn't have. You know, and throughout the whole thing, he was like trying to say we're the same, but Wick was like, hey, we're not the same. You know, all you want to do is play around and show me you're better than me. But you know what? I'm just gonna give it to you. This is what I do. You know, he didn't play with him. He showed him what was up. He showed him his skill, and he upped his level. You know?
Any feedback?
I mean, y'all sat there and just ran through I agree with everything y'all said.
Man, it's just so cold, because it just goes hand in hand with what he was saying too, because what he said earlier, he was referring to the various martial arts that actually happened in the film. You'll see gung fu. You'll see the Japanese-style traditional jiu-jitsu system. You'll see elements of actual ninjutsu, or what we perceive to be ninjutsu from films, where there's a lot of stealthy movement going in and out of the shadows, which I found very impressive.
Almost like Ninja Assassin.
And now, I got a leeway for you right here, Nathan. What about Halle Berry, though?
Oh, she was doing it. She was cold. It was like a triple team all the way through with her dogs and everything. They just tearing everything up. Like them dogs were little jackrabbits.
She was like a female John Wick.
Oh yeah, big time. She wasn't playing.
you'll notice that a lot of the techniques, they come off of the hand. So it's either backhands, forehands, or straight. So they're able to counter off of the hand techniques and do the various throws. You'll notice that John Wick employs a lot of that Japanese style jiu-jitsu. Some of it even appears to be Aikido and Hapkido, how they're manipulating the joints to get the flips to occur. Halle Berry came in and she did a very strong scene where she was able to actually counter using hand-to-hand combat techniques, simultaneously employing her weapon. So she had her firearm simultaneously going ahead and attacking while doing techniques. But what made it even more significant, what stood out to me, and what I noticed is that a lot of times there's films where I truly appreciate where warriors use animals as part of their arsenal, not just physical machine weapons, but actual, they might use an eagle to attack, or they might use their tiger to attack if it's like He-Man, for example. They have a beast that they actually are a master of, and that beast literally follows what the master is saying. So Halle Berry actually has 2 German Shepherds in the film, and I was talking to Nathan about this because it seemed as if there was a couple of scenes where they attack head on, so they'll come straight at the chest or the groin. But there was a couple of scenes where when the enemy pulled out the weapon, you'll see the dog latch on, and with the momentum, it just literally turned the guy up into a technique. So it almost seemed as if the dog was implementing similar techniques to its master, which I found impressive.
Yeah, like an anaconda.
There was a scene where she was under attack, and the dog actually jumped off of her back, popped up about 10 feet high, kind of scaled the wall, and attacked somebody that was above the wall prior to that person shooting down on her, while she was actually having her hands full attacking another person, holding them down, getting ready to assassinate him.
Yeah, the cooperation in the movie was good.
Yes.
I like that.
Just to show the intelligence, the intellectual, these dogs, they were just smart. They listened, they were attentive, they were always scanning the field. They were never stopping in one spot. They were always looking and making sure that, it was like the scene when they went into the top of the rooftop and they wanted to talk with one of the big bosses. I'm not going to try to spoil it too much, but one stopped to get background. He was, guarding the back. The other one went forward to guard the front. So they had her guarded back and front. So just the view of that was like, wow. These dogs are trained. They're smart. To have a dog like that in that fashion, that just shows the loyalty that that they had in terms of master and pet, but also it's the loyalty of the whole movie in itself.
Yeah.
It reflects everything in the whole. The loyalty of their skill, their craft that they have, of what they're willing to die for in the movie. For the respect that they're trying to gain of themselves, and not only for that, but just to be an assassin. So have the code and have it established. It just reflected throughout the whole movie. It just reflected all that. And it was like wow. It just makes you want to get into it and watch it more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I agree. It's like how John repaid everybody, and then they come back and repay him, even if what I mean.
Yeah, to the point he even took his finger off. You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted to live. He wants. He said he because then he won't be able to remember his wife, his deceased wife. And that's the whole meaning. He wants to continue to remember her. Right. Even though it's going to be temporary. He wanted to continue to remember her, but he wanted to sacrifice himself because he knew if he got back, he wouldn't have to kill his friend. He'd be able to help him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just something another. Just the movie, the respect in it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I think you really nailed on the head, actually, that I would definitely like to touch on, because what it is, we all hear different we'll hear different things about Illuminati, or like Freemasonry, or like the government. People always throw out these coin phrases of like higher levels of society that actually manipulate normal people and the world around us. There was a code. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. There was a code. There was an assassin's way, right? So there's a code to it, and you have to respect it, whether or not you actually want to do it or not. If you pledged to that particular person, you were indebted to that person, whether or not you wanted to be involved with it anymore or not. And what they did was so they unleashed the beast with Halle Berry on that one, when she had to go ahead and repay John Wick. So spoiler alert on that one, but I had to I had to give you that one. It's tight. The beauty of it is that I could even tell you that, but reality of it is when you actually go see the film for yourself, there's nothing that I could tell you in words in terms of the amount of choreography, the work, the physical aspects that they put into play in this particular film, because it's nonstop head-to-head combat.
Yeah,
There's technique. There's weapons. There's implementation of weapons as tools. Implementation of different sized weapons. Implementation of hand-to-hand weapons such as swords and blades, belts. Aside from the pistols, and then of course, as you're aware, the beauty of the way they depict the assassins is the way that the etiquette is, right? So like in the previous episodes, if you guys have seen John Wick 1 or 2, you'll notice the way they talk about it. He was like, well, what would you like today, sir? I would like something with a little punch today, something with a twist, you know, and they almost talk about it as if they're ordering a drink or food or something of that nature. And then the gentleman comes out and says, well, how about this one? Boom, the P90. Well, how about this one? The AK. So they start, they're very involved. They're very involved in the specific armor that they're going to utilize, the specific weaponry that they're going to use for each mission.
Yeah, tailor-made for them.
It's, yes, tailor-made, yeah. That's actually nails it right on the head. It's not like ordering a drink. It's actually like ordering a suit. The way they do it is they actually utilize the suit as a form of armor. And there's a scene at the end where some other people from the high table come in and they have a significant armor actually over them.
Oh yeah.
What did you guys think about that one?
Oh, I mean, just to think of that, what's the military holding back on? You know, that could be implemented now, jokingly, but no, it was something unexpected to know, because you got a troop of commandos coming in, knowing that they're inferior to this assassin. Right. They try to arm them to the T to give them the advantage, to make it an level playing field, but the guy was just too skilled.
He still adapts.
You know, he adapts, he moves, he just doesn't stay in one spot.
Yeah.
You know, he sees what his first shot is like, he uses it to gauge, and then he just reacts off that. You know, he realized right away, man, they got armor on. You know, it didn't look like it at first, but after a couple shots, he realized, he's like, man, why ain't they going down? They're getting up. You know, sometimes some movies do things a little unrealistically, but this whole movie it seemed pretty realistic through all the training that they did. And I was watching some stuff on various channels, YouTube, with Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry doing their gun range testing, and it seemed like they really implemented that to the fullest in this movie. You know, they look really on point. Their mechanics are sharp, and I'm not in no way, shape, or form a professional in gunsmithing or shooting guns or anything like that. But they looked like they were on point in what they were doing with the training that they received.
Military training.
All that, you know, and they were on point. There was no flaws in their mechanics.
The beauty of it that I noticed was the fact that it just so happened that, as he mentioned, there was commandos, right? So they weren't just commandos that were literally utilizing armor to take advantage of the combat situation. They were actually very well organized. In fact, there was a scene where they were lined up, 3 of them, and they had a floodlight. And you're blinded, right? So you see, he's behind me, but you're blinded by the floodlight, so you think there's only one person, but they're actually using strategy, because at that same point, when Wick comes through in front of them, they all separate, and you realize that there's 3 of them, and they start lighting up. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. It wasn't just them implementing the armor that they had to be able to sustain more damage and still be able to inflict more damage, because against the average firearm professional, like people who actually know how to use firearm in combat, against those people, they melt right through them like a hot knife through butter. But since Wick and the other gentleman, I forget his name, are so highly technical with the weaponry, it just so happens that they're able to survive, clearly, and obviously they're the star of the movie. But as he was referring to, that armor is not necessarily out of question. That type of armor, at this point in time, we use Teflon, and they have these bulletproof vests, and they're actually not really very thin. Now, you feel the impact when the bullet hits you. It could actually knock you back depending upon the round size. However, what they did was they actually utilized a helmet and a full body shield, and it was basically a suit that was able to repel or stop the penetration of the bullets, and actually it still gave them momentum to move forward. It wasn't actually knocking them back before they were able to retaliate, which I found impressive. However, that's when they go back into the vault and say, you know what?
Which is a comical part of the scene.
Yes.
It really made you laugh when they were going back in, and they're just like frustrated because they're totally destroying these soldiers, but they're not doing anything to them because they don't have the right weaponry, they don't have the right bullets. After going in the first time, they're like, these are the finest rounds, these are the best grains, and then they use them and nothing happens. They just look so dumbfounded. They were just mad because they knew they were better. They knew they were doing what they were supposed to do, but they went back and they got the better stuff, and they were just blowing their heads off.
They ended up getting some different rounds and some different weapons. So they ended up stepping up to shotguns, and the shotguns
armor-piercing shotgun rounds.
Right. So now they have armor-piercing rounds within the shotguns. The first shot that they shoot splits the dude's head right in half. I was like, whoa, okay, so now we get to see the full potential of what this weapon is. So this way, it foreshadows when they start going out there and actually utilizing the weapon multiple times on those gentlemen with the armor, you'll be able to see that the weapons that, the power of the weapon is definitely capable of damaging that armor, even though in the first wave, they were inadequate with the type of weaponry that they had. So going back to it, I feel like if we're seeing it in a film, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, no.
Right? Because back in the days, doing this right now, me talking to you to my mobile device, recording it off my mobile device and being able to pop this up using absolutely no wires into the Internet of Things so that you can see us doing this video, at that time, that was impossible. But now we could physically talk to each other through our mobile devices. Not only talk, but you could literally look at them and see a video of them playing back, talking to you in real time. That's how impressive that is. It just so happens that back in those days, it was sci-fi, but now it's reality. So what we're looking at with that armor is not necessarily so far-fetched.
Right. Yeah, it's just a form of technology they implemented in the movie. I mean, the movie's off the chain. I mean, it keeps you from the edge of your seat from start to finish. I was looking down the aisle and there was this one guy, he couldn't even sit back. He was like sitting on the edge of his seat. I was like, dude, are you on a roller coaster? You know, and he just like, man, he was intense because he couldn't even sit back. He was sitting up off his seat, you know, and this was dude I just observed that was in the seats, you know. I myself, I couldn't stop. I'm normally quiet through a movie, okay, but I couldn't stop yelling like, oh my goodness, you know. I would just, it's just so intense and it's just so much action and it gets gory, but not to the point where you're disgusted about it, like a ninja assassin.
Right, a lot of blood,
just splatting it, and you know that was just gross.
Yeah,
you know?
Everything was clean as far as the weapons that they were using and the way they were utilizing the ammunition. It wasn't in a way where it was very sloppy and brutish. Everything was specific. Everything was precise. Yep. The amount of ammunition that they were utilizing through the combat scenes was also very, very precise. So the beauty of it is that it wasn't just a bunch of brutes running around swinging weapons and firing bullets out. They were actually very precise, not only in the hand-to-hand combat aspect of it, but as well with the weaponry, which makes it even that much more impressive, because there was a scene I couldn't hold back on where I started laughing. John Wick actually comes out with a shotgun, knocks somebody over, I guess like the top of some type of a bridge, and the guy's rolling down the entire time, and John Wick is still firing on him. Boom, 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 as he's rolling. And every single shot, and every single shot's hitting the guy. Blam, 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 blam. So he's extra precise, extra efficient with the way he's using his target and the ammunition that he has. Any other standout scenes that you have? Before we close this John Wick quick review right after seeing it?
Well, guys, you just gotta watch it. I'm not gonna spoil it anymore. You just gotta watch it. The movie is off the chain. It is on point. Keanu Reeves tearing it up as always with his action, you know, with his martial arts that he's been doing I know he's been doing for 20 plus years. You know, The Matrix, killing it, killing it. So, but the thing is, it's not as computerized in this movie. It's more hand to hand. It's more real. And like he said, he did about 80 to 90% of his stunts. That was all him. You know, you got to check it out. You got to check it out.
Anything that stands out to you as far as any fight scenes, any particular gun scene, any type of hand-to-hand scene that stands out to you that really made you look back and say, wow, that was off the hook. Like, this was sick.
Well, overall, I just enjoyed like the way he, just his overall fighting style. You know, he's not just aiming at one target. He's always shooting at multiple. You know what I mean? At once, like and then he'll go back some. You know what I mean? He's always trying to look for another weakness within his opponent. So I enjoyed that.
I found that actually to be pretty impressive as well, because there was a scene where these commandos, like we talked about with the armor, since they were able to sustain more than one shot at a time, he was essentially attacking them, and those seemed like concussive force blows as far as the bullets based on the armor that they had. But he was finding his way back to the same target after having dealt with 1 target, 2 targets, 3 targets, when the other one was sustaining itself back, he would go boom, 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 attack a vulnerable area, finish him, and then move on to the next one. So he actually had to fire upon multiple targets over again. So I found that was unique. That was something I had never seen in any particular assassin or military style movie, based on the fact that the armor was something that was the first time I ever saw implemented in a film.
Sure.
All right, guys, that was our quick John Wick review. Just finished seeing it live for the birthday boy. Just chilling out with him, catching a nice flick. But get ready to. What's the next movie we're gonna see? Get ready for the next review. They'll just get better as time goes on. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, Phoenix.
We got Dark Phoenix and we got Spider-Man. But Spider-Man's up next first, right?
Yeah.
What is it called? Spider-Man.
June 4th. Spider-Man Away from Home.
Spider-Man Away from Home. We're gonna review that one next when we get together. All right, y'all.
Peace.